Alright, what's happening everybody? It's your boy Keen and welcome to today's blog. Recapping week 7 of the college football season. Starting with my game of the week, Arizona State at Oregon. Oregon had to play without running back LaMichael James, suffered an elbow injury last week, but he had two backup running backs who played great. Over 240 yards rushing, and Kenyon Barner and freshman phenom DeAnthony Thomas pulling off the 41-27 victory over the Sun Devils. But there was a scare in the second half for Oregon, and another star player got hurt. Darren Thomas suffered a leg injury in that second half, in which Brian Bennett, his backup, had to come in to replace him. Now, Darren Thomas will be out for the next 2 weeks at least, but I don't think Oregon should worry too much because they have Colorado and Washington State for the next couple of games. I think Brian Bennett has enough skill and running ability to and capability and great talent around him for Oregon to win these next couple of weeks. But anything can happen. I think Oregon will still win these next 2 games. Now, my upset pick of the week, I picked Michigan State over Michigan, and the defense from Michigan State had a great game, holding Denard Robinson, the Michigan quarterback, to 165 yards of total offense, pulling off the 28-14 victory. Now, there was a scare at Bird Stadium for the Clemson Tigers when they played the Maryland Terps. Clemson had to claw their way back in that second half, pulling off an 18-point deficit, getting a 56-45 game victory. Now, it was a great game for the Clemson Tigers. Taj Boyd showed great leadership, but it was the performance of freshman receiver Sammy Watkins in that second half. 345 yards of all-purpose yardage, including a kickoff return for a touchdown. He is arguably the best freshman in college football today. He's having a great season, and he's having an All-American-like season this year, and he's a true freshman. He's still young. This is a young Clemson team, and I cannot wait to see what they do later on in the future in college football. Now, a close upset was between the South Carolina Gamecocks and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Mississippi State fell 2 points short, 14-12 loss, and it was a good game, a good defensive game, but it was a scare for South Carolina. They're going to have to play without Marcus Lattimore, their star workhorse running back, who will be out for the remainder of the season. He suffered a knee injury in this matchup. Now, with the loss of Marcus Lattimore, I think the SEC East Championship is wide open. Georgia is still in the hunt. They only have one loss along with South Carolina, and anything can happen. I think with this loss for South Carolina, they're going to be struggling for the next games in SEC play, and I think Georgia has a clear shot of winning that SEC championship, but anything can happen. Now, a couple of other games I mentioned, Missouri played Iowa State. They ended up crushing them. I also mentioned the Miami at North Carolina game. I said Miami should win that game, in which they did, 30-24. They ended up holding them off in that second half. They pulled off a good victory and a good lead, but North Carolina ended up coming back in the second half, but they fell short in the fourth quarter. Another big game I mentioned, Baylor at Texas A&M. I picked Baylor. Quarterback Robert Griffin III had 430 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, but was outplayed by Ryan Tannehill, the Texas A&M quarterback. 415 yards passing and 6 touchdowns. With his performance, he boosted up his stock for the NFL draft this season. A lot of people, including myself, are actually considering him being one of the top 5 quarterbacks coming into the NFL draft this year based on this performance. He shows great arm strength and good mobility, and this is boosted up his draft status for the NFL next season. Now, a couple of other games I mentioned, Auburn played Florida. Florida ended up having struggled offensively, losing 17-6. Both teams struggled offensively, and Florida really needs John Brantley back in that starting lineup because they have no good performances from the quarterbacks Jacoby Brissett and Jeff Driscoll. They really need to step up a little bit, but they really need John Brantley most and work on that Charlie Weis offense. They ended up losing to a good Auburn team. Now, there was a scare for Kansas State, but they still remain undefeated, beating the Red Raiders of Texas Tech 41-34. Colin Klein, a star quarterback, is a true leader. He's a workhorse. He shows great effort, and he's actually, in my mind, for one of the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Years this season because of his efforts. He's having a big season. Another big game, speaking of another Texas team, Texas Longhorns hosted the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Oklahoma State pulled off the 38-26 victory due to their run game, led by Jeremy Smith, 140 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. But it's kind of good for Texas because it looks like they found a running back in Malcolm Brown, 139 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, but they really need help better performances from the quarterback position between David Ash and Case McCoy. Brian Harsin is still developing them in that offense, and they're still trying to improve and get used to Harsin's offense. And Harsin really needs to decide who's going to be that starting quarterback in the future for the Texas Longhorns. Virginia Tech ended up playing Wake Forest. Wake Forest upset at Florida State last week, and they're looking to do the same against the Hokies this week. But the Hokies pulled off the double-digit victory led by quarterback Logan Thomas, who had over 250 yards passing. Plus, David Wilson had another 100-yard game, in which the Hokies still remain one of the top teams of the ACC conference, still looking for a hunt for a chance for that ACC championship. Now, overall this week, I was 10-2. I had a great week. Actually, I boosted up my my winning percentage to 71.8%. I was 69% a couple of weeks ago, but for the last couple of weeks, I've been doing good. 10-3 last week, 10-2 this week. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys is on Wednesday, where I will give you my key matchups and predictions of Week 8 of the college football season. Thank you for watching today's vlog from Sports News Insider. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.